Alright, it is time for One Piece.
One Piece. One Piece. Woo! Alright. Now, this was a pretty interesting chapter. I mean, some people didn't think it was as interesting as I did, but, that's why we all have opinions. First of all, this was a pretty much a setup chapter. For one thing and one thing. Now, the question is it going to be one or is it going to be two? And what was it? How many chapters since Golden Week have we had? Two? Is this the second?
I believe this is the second?
Since Golden Week? Yeah, because Golden Week...
I want to say... yeah, because we had Gear Forth
right before,
and then we had... we had Doflamingo get wrecked, and then him standing
up.
So
85.
So yeah,
85.
Chapters.
So this is the third chapter. Oh, yeah. It's definite now. That pretty much confirms 2 more chapters until Doflamingo is out. And why do you think I say that? Because this chapter heavily sets up that something's going to be done to prevent Birdcage from closing in the next chapter, and Luffy's going to be ready in the next chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Question is, was he going to be ready in time? Is he going to take out Doflamingo in the next chapter? And that pretty much answers your question. Because next week will be the 4th chapter since Golden Week. And you know what's going to happen. You know what Oda's going to do. Just don't get your hopes up. You know what he's going to do. Last page in the next chapter. Luffy, I'm finally ready.
Oh, yeah.
Go on a break. Mm-hmm. He's going to do that. I'm calling it now. Oda is going to punk us one last time before he ends Dressrosa. I'm ready. Oh, by the way, we're going on break next week. Fuck.
Uh-huh.
He's gonna do it, and I'm gonna be pissed off. But I'm going to do a live reaction just in case, because I am going to scream. I am so pissed off that I wasted my celebration on friggin' 2 chapters ago. I'm pissed off that he did that, and I know he's gonna piss me off again.
Mm-hmm. Probably.
Which is probably gonna make for a good live reaction.
Yeah,
because he's either if Luffy's finish is ready, if it doesn't get ready until the end of the chapter, I'll be freaking raging out. But if he defeats Doflamingo in the next chapter, I'll be, woo woo, hooting and hollering. Because I'm like, it's been going on. This arc has been going on for way too fucking long.
Yeah, I agree.
Friggin' Marineford was shorter than this.
Was it?
Heck, there's no this chapter. Now, if I remember correctly, this is what, chapter 787?
Yes.
The first chapter of this arc was chapter 700.
Mm-hmm.
That's 87 chapters.
Yep.
That is pretty hard to beat, and it's not even over yet.
Mm-hmm.
Not even over yet. That's what makes it so annoying.
Almost. We're almost there.
But it's not soon enough. Like, I want... It's too much wasting time.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? We should just let Zoro just finish everything off and just be done with it.
He could have, because we saw the people running away from the birdcage and the people running away from the fight met up. So, hello. That must mean that they're close enough that, friggin' he can run over, take out Doflamingo, and be done with it.
Yeah.
So...
just let Zoro finish everything. Let him cut Birdcage, Doflamingo.
He would have cut, if he could have, he would have done it already.
Cut Birdcage, Fujitora, Doflamingo in one slash, and just be done with it. Just save us a bunch of time.
Alright. Now, this... Let's see, okay.
We have Sabo, of course.
Okay, so the Marineford arc started. I guess believe you can say it's either like 550 or 549, something or other, because 549 is departing for battle and 550 is Marine headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then let's see, and the end of the war. They're literally chapter 580 is entitled "End of the War," which is when Shanks comes in, and then it I think in the next chapter or two it starts the Three Brothers arc, flashback arc. So Marineford by itself was only 30. If you want to even include the Impel Down arc, as because they're kind of pretty much connected.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Where is this?
Think somebody's calling you.
Yeah. Uh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
Of course, you would put that as your ringtone too.
I do.
It's
Oh,
too
here you go.
funny.
Chapter the chapter Undersea Scowl Impel Down is chapter 525. That's in 25 chapters. So even if you include Impel Down, that's still only 55 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just insane that like the only way you could really the only way that the Marineford arc, like if you could sort of count the Marineford arc to be bigger, is if you include the entire Marineford saga, which is friggin' Shabody Archipelago all the way to the Three Brothers arc.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, because it's the fact that both Impel Down and Marineford together is still shorter than this arc,
That's ridiculous.
and like it is because you know you go back and okay, um, and then there's and even if you look at the friggin' Amazon Lily arc, wasn't that long, because I think it started around like 512, 513, or
Yeah.
or 514, something like that. So that's like only another 10 chapters. That's still 65. It's just you would have to literally you would have to literally include probably have to you know include probably the moment they got to the red line up to and everything up till they go into the time skip in order to have an arc that's as long or longer. And we still got a couple more chapters before they actually leave
Mm-hmm.
Dressrosa. The fact that this arc is going to be most likely longer than the entire Marineford, or should I say War the Best saga, is totally unnecessary.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Like, that saga itself proved how the stuff that happened in that saga alone is more stuff that happens in several series. Several most series don't even have that much information
Right.
or stuff that happens in their entire series. Like, yet Dressrosa is going on longer. It's just really draining.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, it took too long to get interesting too. That was one of the main things.
Well, because he's had to spend so much time setting with the whole Coliseum thing to set up all these people, and so that way they wouldn't be out of nowhere later in the arc.
Mm-hmm.
But so, but there was a lot of things he could have cut, and he could have picked the pacing up and not wasted as much time in certain things, and could have cut out a bunch of, and could have saved us a bunch of chapters. I mean, most people thought, there's of course the common theory going around that, especially with, you know, the Gear Force Tease chapter being the whole thing about the cheese chapter and the actual reveal chapter. If you reverse them, it's the first usage of Gear Second and the
Yep.
Nightmare Luffy chapter. Some people are thinking Oda did that on purpose so that way he could do it that way.
Hmm.
If that's the case, then once again you find a way to piss me off, but at the same time make things interesting.
Uh huh.
It's like, I love you did that and hate the fact that you did that.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why Oda's One Piece is just. It's hard to not like it because of the fact. But even though I'm going on this rant about how dragged on this arc is, at least he still keeps it somewhat interesting.
Hmm.
Like he isn't letting it go like down the toilet. Just like okay, just like this. Like it wasn't like friggin' an entire arc. Like it wasn't like he was throwing in a lot of chapters that were similar to this week's Bleach chapter, where it's like one step, two step, chapter over.
Right.
That's how, like it wasn't like at least he didn't do that. But it's like now this is why it's like this is why the friggin' Oda's this is not gonna end. Like wasn't it last year? Didn't Oda make his most recent prediction? Oh, it's gonna be 10 years, 10 years, 10 years. He does that every so often. And wasn't last year his most recent, saying of, oh, it's gonna end in 10 years?
Uh huh.
At the frick, if he keeps making arcs, if the Dressrosa arc, when in actuality its importance in the overall scale is minuscule in comparison to the Yonko arcs and the Final War arc, and all of that stuff, it's minuscule compared to those arcs. Yet, it's taken over 2 years for this arc to go down. So don't friggin' tell me we're gonna get through all the Yonkos, get to Raftel, and then start this whole friggin' Final War shit in less than 10 years, in 9 years. No way in hell. If this is how long he makes the Dressrosa arc, each Yonko arc is probably gonna be like 2 years each, and that's including, and Shanks is gonna be Yonko arc is gonna be included in the whole Raftel arc, I believe, and the whole, and that's not even including any arcs that are in between, mind you. The
Hmm.
Final War arc is probably gonna be like 3 years because there's just gonna be Oda. That's the things. Oda is the master of foreshadows and backstories and whatnot. But that's gonna kick him in the. That's gonna really bite him in the behind come the Final War because he's gonna be having to resolve so much stuff and reveal so much information. It's gonna take him like 3 or 4 years for that final arc,
Uh huh.
especially at the pacing he does. He might like. I know people are joking about this. He might at this rate. He might even get to like 1,500, 2,000 chapters at this rate if he doesn't friggin' fix his friggin' pacing.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, so
I mean, really,
overall,
the main thing to really focus on in the actual chapter, I guess, probably is Sabo and
well, yeah, Sabo
Burgess
friggin' kicking Burgess's butt
so
like
far.
it's nothing. Like it's nothing. Like he's just like. But of course, we all Burgess is like just like, ugh. Yeah, that hurt a little bit, but you know, I was only warming up. Pun
Hmm.
intended. Pun intended.
Yeah.
So yeah, but what interested me most was the fact that in his initial strike against Sabo, he decides not to use hockey.
Yeah. That
That was
that was
odd.
interesting.
I mean, it looked cool. It was a cool shot, a cool panel, but like, really? I mean, I'm pretty sure once, especially since he just got done telling you he was the one who was Lucy, and that he was the one who ate the Marimar no Me.
Hmm.
Which then brings up another interesting question. If he at that point still thought that Luffy was the one who he fought in the Coliseum in the finals. How the hell did he not freak out more when Lucy ate the Marimar no Me with no problems?
Right.
Like, you would have think, if he legitimately thought that was Luffy, why the hell did he not freak out at seeing Luffy, or supposedly who he thought was Luffy, eating another devil fruit?
Yeah, right.
Like, you thought, especially with Oda and the fact that he's been dragging things out, you would have thought he would have put that in there. Like, friggin', like, oh my god, it's like friggin' him calling up friggin' Blackbeard. Oh my god, Mugio friggin' ate a second devil fruit and isn't dead.
I'm trying to think, did he actually witness
Well, no,
Sabo eat the fruit? That's the thing. That's what it
but
seemed like to me.
it seemed like he saw, and he also saw the flame attack that followed, I believe. So
Did he?
I would,
Hmm.
I would. All I know is that you would have thought, and also we don't know what friggin' Burgess has been doing since then, and that was like friggin' forever ago. So what you would have had to have thought that in him just somehow leisurely walking around, not being noticed by anybody, which is hard to believe because he's a big ass motherfucker.
Yeah.
You would have thought, hey, he would have maybe caught maybe the Sabo Fujitora fight, maybe especially since there were flames spewing from that fight. You would
Right.
have thought it would have been noticeable.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of odd. It takes me as very odd that it's just now in this chapter is he finding out, and everybody's apparently took like what is this friggin' like? Come on. I feel like we're going back to friggin' Sogi King days where Luffy and Chopper still think, probably to this day, still think that Sogi King and Usopp aren't the same person.
Uh-huh.
It's like how naive and stupid can you be?
I don't know.
But anyway, so then you have the friggin' Zoro with his badass armament hockey friggin' trying to push back the birdcage. Not cut it. He did not attempt to cut it, which means he already knows he can't.
Or
So,
he just hasn't tried yet. Because
no, he's
I
not
don't
going to
think it's going to
try.
happen at this point. It's not
No.
likely.
The fact that he's trying to push it instead of cut it. See, first of all, he hockeyed up his swords. So if he was going to be able to cut it, he would have noticed it as he was trying to push it back. He would have been like, oh, my sword just went through this. And then he would have friggin' done a friggin' like giant dragon twister, black twister, what was it? Black rope dragon twister.
Or you mean Tatsumaki?
Wasn't that the thing he did in friggin' Fisherman Island, where with all the soldiers with the friggin' um like really hard shell armor shield things, and he's like black rope dragon twist thing.
Oh
That's supposed
yeah. Yeah,
that's supposed like was
I know the Japanese name for it, which was Kokujo o Tatsumaki.
yeah, friggin' do that like a giant one of that, and just shing 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 cuts all the bird cage up in little pieces.
Yeah.
He would have done that already. This would have been the chapter to do it. I mean, it would have been. Then again, he could also just decide to do it at the very first panel of the next chapter, like Zoro. Okay, Sandorio cuts up the bird, like friggin' the bird cage gets small. He's like, okay, bird cage is small enough now. Shing 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 shing. Oh,
Yeah.
flying sword attack that just goes up the bird cage in a spiral motion, and oh, it's friggin' spaghetti now.
Like Kokujo o Tatsumaki that just encases the entire birdcage and just cuts the whole friggin' thing. Alright, now I'm
And then
fanboying too much. I'm sorry.
oh no, oh yeah, no, fanboying too much would be saying that once he cuts it up, that it being a twister that's outside keeps on growing and then friggin' encompasses the entire island. So then friggin' in some future arc we have the Straw Hat version of the bird cage, which is a friggin' giant swirling sword attack.
Hmm.
That would be fanboying too much. But of course, that's not something that's going to happen because instead, the Straw Hats bird cage thing is going to be friggin' sexy fire from Sanji
Uh-huh.
because I say so, and Sanji's best.
Sanji is close
I mean,
best, but
he's freaking taking on a Yonko's ship. Whether or not the Yonko's on there, you know for sure that some of her boys are on that ship,
mhm,
multiple. So he's taking on a Yonko, one of the Yonko's personal ships for her crew members. Whether
right.
she's on it or not is irrelevant because Sanji's taking them all on.
Yeah.
So talk about feats, Zoro feats my ass.
What are you talking about? Zoro's feats are way better than Sanji's at this point. So,
So what? He cut a friggin' mountain in half. Whoop-de-doos. Law did that back in Punk Hazard.
and Law was the only thing that stopped Sanji from being completely killed by Doflamingo.
Yeah, but Zoro probably would have gotten his butt kicked by Doflamingo too. Plus, none of them at that point knew about the whole how his string tree fruit worked.
Mhm.
So you can't say once. How many times has Luffy gotten his butt kicked because he didn't know the opponent's ability, and then would just come back and then kick his butt
Uh huh.
because he knew what to do. All right, so if Sanji would have come back, he friggin' would do much better. Still wouldn't win, but neither would Zoro, because that's just the way it is. Even though Zoro's feats tend to seem better, like that's the one thing about the Zoro hype that is even more annoying than the fact that I'm a Sanji fanboy. It's the fact that Zoro gets feats and showcases his skills in such a way that it makes it even more so than pre-time skip Zoro did.
Mhm.
He seems more powerful than Luffy too often, and I don't like it because Luffy only gets to show his power once an arc when he friggin' bulks up to defeat the main enemy at the very end of the arc. Not even the beginning of the end of their fight. He shows something impressive. Like what the hell? Why is that? Zoro, he gets to show impressive stuff throughout the entirety of the arc.
I guess we should go back to the days when we should move ourselves back to the days when we remember that Zoro and Luffy used to be equal back in East Blue. They used to be considered equal at least.
Oh yeah, I totally believe that. In the East Blue, sure. Zoro would have, if Zoro wasn't injured from Mihawk, oh, he would have wrecked. He would have beaten friggin' Arlong if he wasn't injured.
Mhm.
Fresh, well rested, having eaten and drank plenty of booze. Oh yeah, he would have wrecked him. Especially, oh yeah, he would have wrecked him. But that's why he got injured because so that way he'd have a handicap,
Yep.
which has to say a lot for you, which in turn should say a lot about Hachi at the time. I mean, he friggin' got beat by an injured Zoro.
Yeah.
A severe, like, a severely injured Zoro, remind you. Because remember, Arlong got a good look at it, that injury. He was like, oh my god, this guy should be dead right now.
Mhm.
So the fact that Zoro is overcoming this injury even impressed Arlong. So
Yeah.
all of that factors into, friggin' the only worthwhile person strong. And the same thing happens with Sanji and his opponent. The only reason why the fight went that's the one thing I hate. The fishmen battles against the fishmen were so annoying. Was let's take the fight in the water, prolongs the fight because the opponent is a human and can't fight as well.
Mhm.
It just it's a gimmick. I feel.
It was
And
absolutely.
because if Sanji and his opponent, which I can't pronounce his name correctly, so I don't want to butcher it. Spend too much time trying to say it and just in the end be butchering it. But the point is that if the fight would have remained on land for the entire fight, Sanji would have beaten him with much greater ease.
Mhm.
And like I said, if Zoro wouldn't have been injured, he would have not only been able to take care of Hachi easy, but he would have been able to take on Arlong too
Oh yeah.
and would have beaten him. And it is also presumed that, and their honestly, their difference in power comes, I think, after Whiskey Peak. I think because when they fight in Whiskey Peak, they seem pretty even.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up too. Was Whiskey
That's
Peak?
like I think that's like the turning point. I believe where
Yeah,
they start to differ. But after that, it's like, but the whole idea is that in every arc, Luffy is supposed to face the number one opponent, and it's believed that in every arc, only Luffy can win. The exception by himself, with the exception being Thriller Bark, because that was everybody had to
yeah.
face him.
And
So,
honestly, you could even argue Zoro temporarily was stronger than Luffy at Alabasta at one point too. So
well, yeah, yeah, I guess like Luffy kind of went ahead of Zoro, but then when Zoro learned how to cut steel, he kind of got a little bit ahead of Luffy.
but he lost that ability like immediately.
What do you mean lost the ability to cut steel? He didn't immediately lose it.
I believe he stated that he couldn't do it like again, but it took him a while before he could like do it consistently. I don't remember exactly, but if I
But the,
recall correctly, that was the thing.
and then Luffy kind of got stronger when he came up with his Gum Gum Storm technique.
Yeah.
And of course, just surviving another hellish battle just gave added to his stamina.
Mm.
Like freaking, you know, it's which is one of the other interesting things I thought was the whole premise. Like one, that's one. See, that's is something that I've another plus I could say for One Piece, and that is the fact that over the course of the time, they've only needed to train once, and that was the time skip. Most series, as they go through the arcs, they have to stop, spend a couple chapters glossing over or their training, and they're doing some training, and then they go back to whatever the issue is. But One Piece, they do something. They apply what I like to call the Saiyan method, which is after every fight they just get stronger and stronger
Hmm.
progressively. The whole character of Bartolomeo is believed to be Oda putting a character in that represents how fans feel about the series and the Straw Hats. Like, oh my god! And how they fanboy over everything the Straw Hats do.
And of course, he fanboys over Zoro the most.
Because he hasn't seen any of Sanji. He literally hasn't seen Sanji. He hasn't met Sanji, or Chopper, or Brook, or Nami. Because remember,
Hmm.
they never. Because all of those characters I mentioned besides Sanji remained on the boat. And Sanji never came in contact with Bartolomeo.
Right.
And of course, the one thing that we all Oda decided to skip, out of the many things he decided to skip, he also decided to skip friggin' Bartolomeo's reaction of Gear 4.
Hmm.
Like, he. I just imagine friggin' like cartoony friggin' eyes popping out of his head, like, like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, it's like, the eyes are just like outside of his head, just like freaking out.
Rip Bartolomeo 2013 to 2015.
Friggin' his heart would just like jump out and start doing a little dance around him for some reason because it's Bartolomeo.
Yeah.
In fact, I think when Gear Fourth was teased, I think me and I think a bunch of other fans were joking around saying if Bartolomeo witnesses this, he's going to die. He's gonna fanboy so much he's gonna die.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it seemed actually quite likely.
Yeah, so it's interesting. That's why it's just super annoying with the whole friggin' Zoro Sanji thing. Is that you know is that especially in this arc when Sanji hasn't gotten much love in this arc at all.
No, of course not.
So which is makes this fanboy rage between the two camps even worse. And now Zoro's friggin' helping along with the assumingly soon to join him Kanjuro and Kinemon. Well, I'm assuming are going to join soon in helping him push back the birdcage, or at least try to slow it down or stop it. And interesting enough, Frankie is cheerleading the friggin' Totadas to push back the birdcage by pushing on the Smile Factory.
Yeah, how about you fucking help?
Well, that and I don't know how big the Smile Factory is, but how many people do you think you can fit in there?
I
Because
don't
I
know.
mean, that would kind of make it a safe haven, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for Sea Prism Stone, hell yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why don't they just stick as many people they can in there for protection? But
I
then
don't
again,
know.
it's probably not because I mean, in certain angles, it looks like oddly enough in this chapter, Oda did one of those angles that made it look like the friggin' Smile Factory was exactly the same size as Frankie, which I thought was a little weird. Just the way the angling was of
The perspective, yeah.
yeah, the perspective angle was like weird. So like sometimes it looks like gigantic but I but it based on all the various the angles we've gotten on it, I'm pretty sure that you wouldn't be able to fit everyone, but it would be at least nice to fit as many people as they could into there. And also, how deep do the strings go? Because has
Um,
anyone thought to say, hey, look, let's just dig a hole, let's somehow dig a gigantic hole underneath?
yeah, I thought about that as well. Um,
Because we don't know how deep it went, but unfortunately, obviously, it's too late now to try and dig a hole for everyone to get into. Then again, they could have. What about the port?
hmm, I don't know.
Oh, well, then again, no, it probably would have extended to the port because he wouldn't want anyone escaping the port through the port.
Right.
I don't know. It's kind of confusing, but the fact of the matter is, now you have 3 minutes until the birdcage closes and kills everyone, but Luffy needs another 4 minutes before he's ready to use Haki and deal the final blow to Doflamingo. All the while, you have several people trying to push back the birdcage. You have the revived Coliseum fighters trying to protect the citizens, I guess, from the at the center of the birdcage from the fodder Doflamingo family members.
Hmm.
All the while, you have Sabo versus Burgess going on, which is based on how strong each of these characters are, and the fact that Doflamingo is going on a rampage. There should be like bodies piling up like there's no tomorrow. But there's not enough space for everyone. They've already ran into each other. So these, like, how the hell? That's why it can't go on for more than two chapters.
Hmm.
But now, originally, one would think that you wouldn't think, dare ever dream of it, based on the way it was set up, that it would last more than another chapter. But with the way Oda's been pacing this arc in particular, plus with the fact that the next chapter would be the last chapter before most likely the last chapter before his next break, because it's the fourth. Usually it's like 4 chapters, I believe. Every 4 chapters, after every fourth chapter, he goes on a break, I believe. So if that's the case, then he's definitely going to leave us on a cliffhanger next week, being Luffy's finally ready to finish Doflamingo.
Hmm.
This chapter was pretty good. Had a lot of interesting moments. But it was a lot of setup for something, for the final moment of what's going to help. It's that last moment of like, oh my god, everyone. You don't think basically setting it up to be like, oh my god, nobody's. Is everyone going to survive? Is everyone going to be? All the main characters going to be okay?
Uh-huh.
Um, hmm. Let's see. Main characters, are they going to survive this? Yes.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say, nope, they're all gonna die. The story's gonna be over.
It's just no. It's it's more of not a question of if they survive, but how they survive.
Pretty much.
You know, It's only when the author decides to kill a character off that surprise actually kill a character off and they remain dead that they actually like, oh my god, that was a twist. Because they were put in a situation where it was like, oh, they're a main character, they're not gonna die. Oh wait, he died? Oh god, oh crap. Ace.
Yeah.
You thought, oh, Ace is an important character to the series. He's Luffy's brother. There's no way he's gonna die.
It's like he went through all this trouble. There's no way.
And
You
he lets
dick.
him. And he's like, you're like, oh my god, there's no way he's gonna die. Oh my god, there's no way he's gonna kill him. Oh wow, he got free. Yeah, he's gonna live. Next chapter, magma fist through the chest.
You
Why would you
dick.
Why would you do that? So, like I said, the chapter was pretty good, but it was a lot of setup for whatever's going to happen next week, which most likely is the bird's cage is going to somehow find a way by Luffy to finish the and the outer story circumstances. Just no. I know
Uh huh.
he's going to. Most there's 99% chance there's going to be a breakup for next week's chapter. And Oda, Strider,
Yeah.
hello. You
Can you
didn't
hear me?
give your rating. I can hear you now, but you sound a little weird.
Yeah. Same.
But
Huh.
I don't know why that is.
I
So
think
what?
I
Anyway,
think our equipment is trying to tell us to move
I
on.
know. That's why I'm trying to come on. So, what's your rating?
Um, I would say it was a pretty decent to good chapter. Um, so yeah.